Welcome back to the 2018 USA Ultimate National Championships. We are live with women's quarterfinal action. Denver, Molly Brown taking on Atlanta Ozone. The 2018 USA Ultimate National Championships are presented by VC Ultimate, providing Ultimate's best custom team uniforms and apparel since 1998. Visit VC on the web and VCUltimate.com. Quarterfinal action here, ready to tee off. I'm joined by Adam Goff, and Adam, so much experience coaching in the women's division, almost 10 years with the likes of Bent, Nemesis, Showdown. Tell me about these teams that you have seen so many times. What are we going to see in this game?
This is an exciting matchup. I've coached with Showdown against Molly Brown a number of times, recently. Very consistent roster over the last few years. You know what you're going to get. Talented top to bottom. They're going to go out there, try to create a lot of space for their offense, try to put tight pressure on Ozone, especially trying to take away those cutters and make Ozone work the disc, work the disc. Ozone, similar in that they've got a lot of the same players over the last couple of years, but they have really been building through the last round where they had a great victory at the end, coming back to beat traffic. They come out fired up to start this game. You could see a real barn burn. So, underway now in live action here. Molly Brown out on offense. Manuela Cardenas starting with the disc here and going 1 and 2 right away. Threading it through the middle there to McCaithley, and now Minor upfield. They're off to the races trying to find the next option as Cardenas gets open on a little dish, and looks like a foul and some contact in the middle of the field. So an early injury here. Kate Woodhurst jogging off the field to take a sub. Hopefully she's okay. Absolutely, that would be a very big loss to this D-line for Ozone. Hopefully we see her come back out.
So just resetting here, the sub, Paula Seville will come in.
So Molly get a nice break through the middle to move them about 2/3 of the way up the field, getting close to that red zone on this first point.
Just coming back in on stall 3. Cardenas shoots that one up line into the hands of Applegate. Has the cut coming off the back of the stack and perfectly placed into the hands of Cousins. And that is the first hold, the first point of the quarterfinal.
Really, really beautifully done by Molly Brown. Break through that umbrella that it looked like right at the start around them to get through. Once they went through that group, you saw one of the things that I think we're going to see a lot of today. So you saw Applegate work to get that disc, get control of that disc near the end zone, set herself up for that shot into the end zone. She is truly one of the keys to this offense. For people who are casual fans, they may hear some names that they're more used to hearing. You may hear Claire Chastain. You may hear people who play against this team, who coach against this team, know you've got to be ready for Applegate the whole way through.
We saw her yesterday in that game against DC Scandal be so consistent and all over the field, catching and throwing so many discs into the end zone as well. And so definitely one to be watched out for, that combination. Megan Cousins cutting off the back of the stack. The timing and the discipline in that stack from Molly Brown as well, something that Ozone is going to have to find an answer to in this game.
Absolutely. You have to disrupt that Molly Brown movement. You have to force them to skip that first option, skip that second option, try and work down that line. If they get that first and second option quickly as they go upfield, all you're doing is running after them.
So a hold right off the bat here for Molly Brown. Managed to work it all the way up the field, and Jessie Schaffner set to pull now here for the Colorado team. Ozone will look to respond right away. Big around backhand pull. It's going to be brought in on the far side. An immediate up line under some pressure. Wooten putting it, looking downfield. That one's going to hang up, and with the wind, just catching it and pushing it out of bounds.
Wooten, definitely a shooter. Ozone often, sometimes you look at it as live by and die by. When it is going to be critical for her to eat up those yards with some of those big throws for them. They're not going to mind a turnover or two from her because the yards that she gets are well worth it.
So now back in the possession here for Molly Brown, and there's a pick called in the stack. So back here, Cardenas playing on both the O and the D line, finds Slattery. Dishing it back now. The young Colombian star puts it upfield to Johnson, who's gonna put it to the deep space, looking for Dixon, who reels it in. Alicia Dixon with the goal, the first break of the game, and just like that, it's 2-0 Molly Brown.
An excellent read by Dixon. That throw can be surprisingly hard to read. The wind is pushing a little bit across the field, pushing the disc as it carries, and you saw Dixon get that read immediately as that went up, start to shift and ride with that disc as it backed toward the center of the field. You really saw Molly Brown's handlers reverse the field very, very quickly at the start of that point. Each time it went back, it came right back up to this break side to set up that long throw. It's going to be very important for Ozone to clamp them down and control the direction that Molly moves on that field if they want to establish some defensive pressure.
Definitely going to need to find some sort of adjustments to answer back to this Molly Brown team. They've come out with a lot of fire, and we talked about the big win that Ozone had earlier against Traffic. They were down 9-5 at one point, worked themselves back up, down 13-11, and then managed to fight all the way to double game point. And sometimes that can do two things. You can come in with so much fire and momentum into the next game, or maybe a little bit tired. Molly Brown having a bye into this round.
Right, one of the things that helps sometimes though is you just prove to yourself you can come back. You prove to yourself that you can come back. So walking out, being down 2-0 at the start, now you find out where they are mentally. Are they mentally ready? Do they have that energy to fight back from an early deficit? Or did they feel like they spent it, even though they've proven that they can make that comeback? Ozone's been a strong team the last couple of years. I think they believe.
So Ozone back out on offense now. Seville with the disc and pushes it over to the near sideline here. Darch and Seville going 1 and 2 as the disc is back into the hands of Darch, and now upfield. Looking for the next one here, Travaglini. Back around. Molly Brown really focusing on taking away that reset option there. See the poach D in the handler space, and now shooting up line, and Jesse Schaffner picks that one off, and there's going to be a foul called on the mark.
Looks like Slattery with that foot block may have gotten her right on the hand as she tried to push her wide.
Caitlin Travaglini there, going to get the disc back, coming in on stall 0, or on 1.
Players chose to go to the observer there, who made a quick ruling that it was in fact a foul.
So Travaglini gets it back underway, looking for Seville in the reset space. Ozone in the middle of the field now going up, and looks like another foul call. Slattery right on the back of Travaglini there. Another uncontested call here. Comes straight back in on stall 1.
You have to see Ozone start to get some yards from their cutters, who are not getting separation right now.
Travaglini looking for an option, gets it up line in Stubbs. Stubbs now moving it upfield. Carver finds Seville through some tight spaces and tight coverage now as they work it back around with Stubbs. Keeping that low over to Hicks. 10 yards from the end zone now for Ozone as they look to find an opening through the tight coverage here. Finding a high release backhand to Travaglini on the near sideline. Now Stubbs is going to go up through, but no inside shot goes, and a high stall count has to put it towards the back of the end zone, and on the second attempt, bobbled off the defender, and it's going to be caught. Looks like the observers take their time, but signal for the goal. Atlanta Ozone somehow, with a little bit of magic on the late stall count, find an answer.
A real grinder, you would call that point. They had to work and work and work, and I think one of the interesting things is while they were able to get those handlers to move the disc, they were covered tightly, but they got very few yards out of their upfield. The cutters seemed to not be able to get separation. Only once or twice in that point were they able to take those yards easily, and then you saw as they got into that red zone, that coverage stayed tight. force them into really a punt into the end zone, a pop-up and hope to the back of the end zone. Pelletier is going to probably want that one back. I have a feeling that she is going to feel that she could have put a hand on that one, gotten that D.
That one, like you said, so close, so narrow on the defensive attempt, and Ozone doing a good job of finding a little bit of luck on that late stall count throw. It was interesting, had the upline cut going with Stubbs as well, and instead of going for a break back under the inside flick shot, I think at that point when it's climbing so high in the count, it's hard to look for those easier shots and you're staring towards the back of the end zone on that one. But in this case, Ozone is going to pay off. Molly Brown back out on offense, and we'll see now if Atlanta can find a break of their own to answer, as the big flick pull is going to head down the field here. Be collected with Bacher. And Applegate right away has to go to ground to retain possession. Finds Minor upfield. Minor looking for the next option, has Picathley going on the inside, who snags that one. Now working the unders through Laurie. Open upfield again. Minor having trouble being guarded right now by Ozone. And a pick called in the stack.
So much space for those Molly Brown cutters to eat up some yards.
Seems like Ozone having a hard time staying tight, as now Picathley goes to the open side. The layout D attempt is close, but not quite there, and that is the point for Molly Brown.
That's a great grab by Picathley. Body's flying in front. Looked like there might have been some contact to hold on to that. Leaning forward, attacking that disc is a great grab. Once again, I think you saw Molly Brown's offense really create a huge amount of space in the middle of the field. Saw the cutters get their cycle up. I think right now Molly's feeling very, very comfortable, able to run their offense and really able to do what they want. And Ozone is going to have to make some choices to change that. They're going to have to go out there and make Molly do something they don't want to do. Force them to a sideline, force them out of that center, try and make those yards a little bit harder to get.
We did see in the Scandal game yesterday, Molly Brown had some hard time closing the game out, and clearly Ozone, a team that is not going to go away near the end of the game, but they're going to want to find some readjustments a bit before we get to that point. Of course, looking to change some things up, maybe change up the force, confuse Molly Brown a little bit. Be interesting to see something different, maybe a force middle in this situation. Right now, Molly Brown just burning the unders into yards of space.
Absolutely, everything easy until that last grab. Let's give some credit for a difficult grab there at the end. Everything up into that. Especially Minor had a couple touches, probably responsible for about 45 of the yards up the field. Looked like she's running around in the park.
So these two teams face off in quarterfinals at the World's Ultimate Club Championships this year in Cincinnati as well. Molly Brown ran away with that one, so we'll see if they can do the same thing here. Ozone trying to readjust and focus more on the things that they can control, stay loose in this game too. See how it can convert here as now they work it up the far sideline. Schroeder puts it upfield. Layout D attempt from Hardesty, but it continues up here for Ozone. Now with Sophie Darch on the far side. Darch looking for Stubbs in the reset and finds her. Swung all the way around, bobbled off the hand, and then on the second attempt, can't be kept in the possession of Schroeder. Give Johnson the disc back here as she centers to Cardenas. Goes inside to Schaffner, but there was a pick called in the stack.
Yeah, really kind of an unfortunate bobble, but we saw is that when they got down on that downwind sideline, throwing it back upwind, pops up a little bit, makes that grab hard. Gives Molly another chance at a break.
So the pick didn't affect the throw to Schaffner as she keeps possession and goes to the inside high release flick. Looking to the sideline, had Slattery and Hardesty in the space, but it's gonna fall to the ground. An opportunity for Ozone now as Seville gets it up line, shooting into the space. Matsunaga now upfield again. Ozone managing to work some unders of their own. And then up line to Stubbs, spikes the disc in excitement. Ozone get another hold and keep this game within one at 3-2.
Much, much better looking red zone offense for Ozone there, clearing out some space and driving a power position cut handler up into the end zone to take that. The last one where they were forced back into the field, back into that stack, much more difficult. Kind of an unfortunate turnover. Jesse Schaffner, a couple years ago, huge, huge pickup for Molly Brown. Obviously, most people who follow the sport know Jesse Schaffner and what she brings to a team. She brings, powerful throws, really strong defense. She also brings some creative throws. And that one may have been just a little bit creative for the win that we're facing here. Some of those are fantastic, really can open up a game for them, and this one just got away from her a little bit.
Yeah, the wind has been picking up throughout the day, a little bit inconsistent too. It's very gusty out here, changing all the time. We're up to about 8 miles was the last reading we had, and it has caused some issues with throwers to have to readjust throughout the game when it does fade for a few points and then pick up. Sometimes how you adjust your throw needs to adapt on the fly, and that one a case of just seeing how the wind carried it away from both of Schaffner's receivers there.
Right, and the wind is pretty much a pure crosswind now. I can't quite tell if it's fading one direction, but primarily it is going across the field from us, and that means that sideline, the far sideline where the players are standing, could be a very difficult place to be. That sideline's going to become jail if this wind picks up a little bit.
So Molly Brown back out on offense with Applegate, an ever-present force in the handler position here for Molly Brown as Picathley puts it deep, looking the layout attempt, it's too short. Kalupek can't get there. A great look there from Picathley, but the execution not quite on point. And Ozone can go the full 70 yards here to break.
Yeah, that just a hair too long, carrying being pushed as it flies a little too far.
So now upfield here, Travaglini looking for the next option, gets a little inside reset. Wooten, the hammer across the field, lays out to try to reel it in, but unfortunately that one falling out of the hands. Travaglini can't hang on, and now Picathley in the middle, swinging it all the way around to Minor on the doorstep. Molly Brown looking for the next shot, resets to Chastain. There's a pick called in the stack. Chastain back underway here as Applegate gets it in the middle of the field. Had two options and gets it to Kalupek on the third one, and that is another hold here for Denver.
Watching Applegate there was like watching a quarterback go through her reads. Took an open side look, took the break side look, and then took that look off the middle back of the stack. Third option to hit that shot right up the gut. Molly now 3 for 3 in the red zone. Very solid once they get that disc close.
Molly Brown looking strong right now. Here, the 50th celebration of Ultimate as well. And you can check all that out. There's going to be lots of interesting events happening this week. The Hall of Famers being inducted from 2014 to 2018 as well. You can find out more about the anniversary on theultimatefoundation.org. But what an incredible weekend to be celebrating the anniversary and the 40th year of this event as well.
Yeah, the Hall of Fame here is fantastic. Walking around the grounds here, you look around and you see just fantastic players from the history of the sport. Had a good conversation with Hall of Famer Jim Perinella. Saw Steve Mooney out there. And then the new Hall of Famers, people like Dominique Fontenette, inducted into the Hall of Fame and still killing it for Riot. Just an impressive feat. So when you chat with some of the Hall of Famers, then you can actually still watch some of them compete at the absolute highest level.
You can join the conversation. Send out any of your opinions or thoughts on the game with the hashtag USAUNats right now as Ozone tries to find a way to get another hold here with a poachy zone look here from Molly Brown, forcing the disc over to that far sideline now as Stubbs goes up line and receives the disc. Now going back into that space, Palmer, a huge layout attempt there from Dixon, and now tracking to the end zone. Veal tried to chase that one down, but it's too far in front of her.
Yeah, and unfortunate, once that once that play got moving quickly, then we saw a throw that was a little too quick, a little too hot itself. Sometimes it's hard to kind of slow that throw down when you see that thing moving quickly.
Molly Brown, another chance to go for a break. Dixon initiating the cut off the back of the stack there. Now gets another one onto the inside. Black with the Dix, puts it back to Slattery. That one's gonna pop up, but chased down, reeled in still here. Goes up line low, but hangs on. Molly Brown keeping it in their possession with Taggart, who puts it deep. That one's gonna sail around to the flick side. Read well, but 2 attempts on the disc. Can't reel it in. Maggie Chen got a hand to it, and then the layout too far in front there for Becca Miller.
That long throw hanging up a little bit, that was where you show that flat of that disc to the wind. 2 receivers in the area, but that is just going to be a really difficult grab.
So Palmer and Stubbs going 1 and 2, find the space through the cup there. Now Stubbs putting it back to Seville. Seville has no options, only Stubbs back, and a push-off called there. Looks like a no contest from India Stubbs. It's gonna be coming in on 5 here with Seville. Now over onto the sideline. Theodore, and there was some contact there, but Theodore comes out with it and looking now for the next option. Stubbs dancing a little bit, but gets it up on the backhand side. Now into the middle, Seville and Stubbs really working it 1 and 2 through the handler movement. Just surveying for the next option here. Theodore low on anything upfield as Molly Brown really taking it away, puts it into space, and there Sam Pelletier comes down with that one. Now moving it quickly, Slattery puts up a big, huge yard gainer, and now Pelletier to the end zone. That one falling again down to that side, and it's going to be picked off by Ozone. Daughtry pulls that one out of the air here for Atlanta.
Another long throw turnover. Those seem to be where there's a little bit more struggles to get it.
Stubbs moving it upfield, finds Seedor. Over now to Palmer. Palmer fakes the back around option, and then the high release is touched down. Becca Miller gets a hand to that and then lays out to touch it down as Palmer, trying to bid for the second attempt, is going to give Dixon the disc now. Over to Taggart. And another pick called. Lots of congestion right now in the stack.
So do we give 2 defenses for that? I thought it was really important that she, after getting that point block, that she came out of that quickly to go get that. I believe that disc would have been caught. Excellent defensive play.
So now Dixon finds Taggart, and then the little dish into the end zone, and Carolyn Vlach does so well here. Denver up 3 points, 5-2.
Took 3 shots at getting that break, but they finally are able to put that in, stay perfect in the red zone. One of the things continues to be a theme for Ozone is those handlers are moving the disc back and forth, able to get to chip away a few yards, but Ozone's still very, very little upfield. The number of times they're able to chew up any kind of yards was, I don't remember a throw to a cutter in that point, except kind of swung out to the wing for just a couple yards. They are going to have to find a way, some kind of change to open up that space, to move the disc forward, to make it a little bit easier on those handlers.
The handlers doing all the work, like you said, and credit to Molly Brown. They're really playing shutdown defense. And at this point, if you're coaching Ozone, you're down 3 points. How do you tell them to get back into it? What are you saying to them on the line to make those adjustments?
I think the key right now is to really try and get those cuts upfield earlier. I think right now they're starting to move. They need those early, even if the first cutter becomes a sacrifice. Even if that first cutter is to force and create some space, and that second one is starting at stall 0, get that first cut started at -2. get that person moving, get that defender looking somewhere else, help open up some space so that they can get some throws out into space where their cutters can get them. They've got strong cutters. They've got people who can go chase these discs down.
Another big around backhand pull here from Schaffner, collected on the far sideline. Running out of options, has to go inside, finds Wooten. Now on this near sideline, Darch has Wooten going up line, who snags that one under pressure. Now an open under comes upfield. Reese putting it into space in the end zone. The bid is just too far away from the hands. Matsunaga doing everything to get to that one.
I still really like the look. I really like the chance that they took. They were able to get that under, move the disc upfield. One-on-one situation out there. They're just going to have to make those throws if they want to get themselves closer in this game.
Molly Brown a chance to extend their lead now. Johnson looking for the inside option, bobbled off the hands of Schaffner. That one slightly behind her and unable to hang on. Wooten will get a chance to pick up here for Ozone. Looks around there. Cardenas thought about bidding for that, and looks like a pick called right away as Maddie Frey looking for the next option in the stack, and there's been congestion on both teams here. Lots of pick calls early in this one. Disc in on one here with Frey. Dishes it upfield, and then Frey going 1 and 2 to the end zone, gets it back, and that is a point. Ozone needed that hold.
Absolutely. Looking to the veteran Frey to take over right there on the end zone. Excellent play from her, give go, disc out of her hands quickly, back to her quickly. It's one way to get your cutters open, is to start that very, very early. Obviously, Molly Brown helps out Ozone by giving them a short field there, so they didn't have to chew up a lot of yards on their own. Really helps out Ozone, might bring them back that little bit of confidence after that kind of unfortunate drop.
You see the little celebration there between Cena, Ginny, and Frey as well. A little bit of excitement, looking a little bit more relaxed on that point as well, in comparison to the first couple points of the game where they looked a bit more unsure of themselves, unable to find that upfield movement. But this time works out for them, and they get their D-line back on the field. And now Adam on defense, they have also had a hard time finding an answer to some of the deep strikes as well as the massive yard gainers that Molly Brown is getting on those undercuts.
Yeah, I'd like to see them get that mark to be very aggressive on these throwers, force the thrower into a throw that's a little harder. Just make that a little bit harder for that thrower to find the angle they want on these throws right now.
So Stubbs set to pull. Gonna put that one downfield. Ozone looking for their first break of the game as that bounces over the hands of Applegate. Gives Ozone a chance to get all the way down on defense. Now with a junk zone look as Cardenas threads the needle to Minor. Minor unleashing, looking for Lisi Laurie, and a huge layout D. The second attempt can't get there, but an incredible defensive play. Travaglini with that one.
That is a fantastic play. Molly Brown so quickly through that zone, playing catch up, and gets a great, great block to give Ozone a chance.
Really great bid there, and Ozone going upfield now through Travaglini on the far sideline. The upline shut off, but the 7 cut comes through. Stubbs now over Emmerich. Upfield again, all over this one. Travaglini finding Stubbs around on the doorstep of a break. Emmerich looking for the next option, only has Stubbs back as Picathley almost picks that off. And a touch there from Picathley, enough to direct the disc into the ground. Chastain will get this one back as now Picathley looking, has a wide open Minor all the way upfield, not quite in the end zone, just on the doorstep now, unmarked on the transition to defense. Picathley puts it in to the end zone for Laurie, and that is the goal, and a Atlanta Ozone unable to keep up with the speed of the transition to offense, and they extend it 6-3.
Really like seeing Ozone's offense there. They actually started taking some of those yards upfield, and then when it got into that red zone, tightened up, once that swing back to Seville, we had 3 or 4 seconds of no movement, and that forced Seville into that try to that break, which gave the chance for the point block, and then Molly off to the races. So quickly the other way. Picathley takes half a second to make sure she puts that disc out so that it's going to cut through the wind and stay to a wide open receiver off a clearly a broken coverage after the turn.
And Lacey Laurie, such a dominant cutter from Molly Brown as well, doing such a great job on that cut upfield, shoulder checking all the time to see where the disc was, and then adjusting that cut to slash to the near corner for Picathley, hitting perfectly. And Atlanta, like you said, they worked it all the way upfield, all the way to the end zone, but then when that turn occurs, the transition to defense, too slow for the likes of Lisa Miner striking to the end zone.
Wide open. It's nice to see Picathley focused in after engaging the Twitter battle for the game between Space Heater and Mixtape yesterday, which she then followed up on, but seems to have refocused on her own team for this game to set up that throw.
So Molly Brown up 6-3 in this quarterfinal matchup. Ozone back out on offense in the junk zone look, and that one put too far in front of Darch. Tries to lay out, but not much to be done about that one as Slattery now, and a huge hand block. Sophie Darch gets it right back for Atlanta. Telegraphed that one as Slattery tried to go to the break side, and now Ozone moving it back upfield onto the far sideline with Reese.
Fantastic D at a hugely important time.
Critical timing, always important. And now Schaffner with the timing of her own, baited that one a little bit on Palmer and comes through for Molly Brown. We'll see Jessie Schaffner now putting a mark on this game. Had a turnover and a drop earlier, so getting it back is now Slattery unleashing. And Redwell cutting back into that, and then the dish into the end zone, and that is another break here for Molly Brown. Miller catches that one for the score, and they look so comfortable.
Jessie Schaffner is a player who, one of the great things, and it's just got to be just a gift to Molly Brown. Coach Dirth has to love it. A player who, when there's a turnover, when something negative might happen for her team, Schaffner seems to find that extra gear. If you think of a player whose engine runs as strong as hers does, the idea that there's another gear when there might be some adversity to play through, it's a scary thing for an opposing coach to see.
So Ozone currently up right now 7-3. Sorry, Molly Brown up 7-3. Thinking about the adjustments that Ozone needs to make here. And interesting timeout call, down 4 points. Would you have called that timeout a little bit earlier here?
You know, I actually support the timeout now. I think that they make adjustments with that team often on the sidelines. They're able to make adjustments with their O-lines and their D-lines pretty quickly on the sidelines. I know the coaching staff is very, very observant, very quick at doing that. So I think it's sometimes with a team, you can just hold off and get that right.
So Molly Brown in control right now, 7-3. And looking to extend that. They could break to take half here. Ozone on the other hand, will look to find a response quickly. We're ready, set here out of the timeout. Looking for more impact here from this Ozone team to find a response. You always want to keep it within a couple before half, and to get their first break of the game before the halftime would help shift some momentum maybe in their favor. But Molly Brown right now comfortable, 7-3, looking to break to take half, but Ozone on offense. Hicks puts it up line, and now going to the end zone. Dixon in the space, gets that D and easily running onto it in front of the outstretched hands of Harris.
Dixon with perfect positioning on that cut. A long cut moved away, but she had a view of the disc the whole way, able to easily attack and stop that throw.
Cardenas holsters the first inside flick option, gets it on the second to Johnson. Now inside low, and Dixon sliding. Another pump fake looking towards the end zone, and another inside flick, the third in the row on that sideline. Cardenas puts it up high to Chen. Back in the hands of Cardenas. Gonna reset now to Johnson, going 1 and 2, and a pick called. Travel called on Manuela Cardenas as she took off a little bit early after the disc there, trying to follow her throw quickly as she does so often. Does the exact same play once again out of the call. Now the inside flick shot there. Devlin, and a timeout called with no other upfield options coming here for Molly Brown.
Not a bad time for a timeout at all. 7-3. If you don't use it and you get this score, you lose it. We haven't spent much time talking about Manuela Cardenas. She seems to get a lot of airtime, well deserved. This is a player that people know, Revolution, Columbia, playing with Molly Brown for her second season, with a little bit more time practicing with them. It's very interesting to see her so consistently in that handler position. Her sister usually more known as the handler, but she is so solid back there at such a young age. It is impressive to see her playing that role on one of the best teams in the world. Just neat to see her walk through different roles and be pretty scary effective at all of them.
That's the thing with a player like Cardenas, despite being young, plays with so much experience on the disc too. And the difference here this year, seeing Cardenas come in as a pickup last year to Nationals, and this year having been able to train with them pretty much since the World Ultimate Club Championships in Cincinnati. So really a much more established player on the team, and you see that with her handler movement as well as crossing over between the O and the D line consistently here as well. Now, Melissa Devlin calling that timeout, a veteran call, knowing that they can get the break in here to take half. A little touch on the throw, but Johnson continues the catch, and now Cardenas looking for the next option, getting into that low position. Finds Devlin up line on the doorstep of halftime here. Cardenas has Johnson on the inside, gets that inside backhand shot, and Molly Brown absolutely in the driver's seat. They lead at halftime 8-3.
They are working the disc up the field, pretty much putting it where they want, and then when they're getting in that red zone, efficient, efficient, efficient. 7 out of 8 in the red zone for their 8 first half points. So that's the kind of thing that's going to make a coach like Coach Durst very, very happy with his team, making it low-risk ball all the way through. They had quite a few break chances, took advantage of 4 of those across that half to put themselves comfortable going into halftime.
So we're going to take a short break here. We'll have a halftime interview for you with Molly Brown in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
I wanted to talk about her, but I wanted to be 100%. Hey folks, I do want to let you know, if you've got some youngsters out here with you, or if you will tomorrow, and they're just learning how to get into this great game, we are having a Learn to Play clinic right here by Field 20. I guess it would be Field 21 if such a thing existed.
Actually, I'm pretty sure that
Stop by the USA Ultimate Information tent when you get a second. Sign those kids up. You know they want to play this great game. Get them involved. Learn to Play, 9:30 tomorrow morning here on Field quote-unquote 21. Stop by the USA Ultimate Information tent for more information.
I don't know if you heard Chris Mason. He just said a lot of like random stuff in his game yesterday.
My team is all about it.
Yeah.
Hey, Adam hit a game. Yeah, if it does, you're one of those things. I got Bama 6. Gave me props online. Flip the mic over and I'll take it. But yeah, I wanted to talk about Gaskill, but her number's not on.
Yeah. Yeah, so she's a U20 player.
I know her. This guy has a lot of I coach U20. I coach YCC and played against her. And I wanted to be like throwing her.
Sometimes you have to
As I was talking to you,
great check through.
I actually totally forgot. I actually don't know, but so I sent you that detail.
He's literally the most classy. I was watching it.
Yeah, you're supposed to know this stuff. I can put on the
Like, I'm not even kidding. Just talking to him, asking about
you know something about it. No, I'm
like Meg.
I watched her.
Hey, Adam.
Yeah.
You can wave down.
Yeah, Joe?
He was supposed to come over a while ago. Thank you. I'm Becky, by the way. Hi, I'm Kate. I know who you are, but
I was trying to get you on camera.
well, I haven't played on Ozone.
I practiced with them a little bit.
I am on the group meet.
So what you'll do, you want him to come up on my side here? I get to climb.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
You don't care.
I haven't been up here.
This is how you guys do it? This doesn't seem very safe. I like Gator and everything. So I'm not ignoring you. I'm actually just.
Also, this way it's not video.
I've done this. All right. I can focus on you.
Are we going to have a video shot of us up here?
All right. Me and you, Luke. Joe.
Alright, we're ready to go. The 2018 USA Ultimate National Championships are presented by VC Ultimate, providing Ultimate's best custom team uniforms and apparel since 1998. Visit VC on the web and VCUltimate.com. I am now joined here by Joe, the head coach for Molly Brown. And Joe, a great first half, convincingly in the lead at 8-3. How do you feel all of that went for you?
Pretty well.
Do you have anything else you feel like you might need to adjust going into the second half? Ozone has shown some ability to make some huge plays.
Yeah.
They've shown momentum. obviously they were down 9-5 against the Traffic team as well, and they were able to come back. So how do you feel in terms of going forward in this game?
Yeah, that was a wild one. We'd like to not get into the slugfest that they did in the first round. They're really good at climbing off the downwind sideline, and we're going to work extra hard to pin them there. That's the main adjustment, I suppose.
Sounds like a pretty good plan, very much in control at this point, and if it stays like this, on your way to a berth in the semifinals as well. So good luck going into the second half, and I hope it continues your way.
Thanks for the coverage, appreciate it.
We're gonna see some highlights now from the first half, carrying through some big plays from both teams. See India Stubbs and the little hand block there from Applegate, just enough of a touch to put it into the ground, and then another huge hand block from Darch. Both teams coming out big, and we'll see how it can change in the second half here. Looking to the end zone on that one, but Dixon gets there first. And now all the way up in to the end zone. The handlers constantly dishing it around, and then Alika Johnson finds the space to take the break for half, and Molly Brown up 8-3 right now. Dominant so far in the first half. We've seen Atlanta Ozone able to come back before, but we'll see what they can do in this second half. So we're getting a shot now of the Molly Brown huddle, bringing it in for a cheer. Coach Joe fairly laid back in that halftime interview as well. We've seen him be very relaxed, and the team as well staying loose and relaxed. But right now, Adam, more focus on Ozone and the mountain that they would have to overcome to come back in this one.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it a couple times in the first half. They are going to have to find yards from some of the cutters. One thing that's true for Ozone, two of their really strong cutters, Mira Walker, Emily Lloyd, not here, not playing this year for injuries and other reasons. That definitely takes some strength out of that cutting core. But I believe they still have that strength if they can get that disc moving, find some options up there pretty early. We saw them do it on the one where they just missed the long one, where they chewed up those yards very, very quickly with early cuts and a lot of space. It was out of a set that was not that spread, so they did not have four cutters spread across the field to create more space and attack that sideline in that case. As a coach, you're almost looking for anywhere on that field. You are trying to say, okay, where am I going to create my space? Where am I going to force them to beat me one-on-one? Give my cutter the best chance to take some of those yards. If they can continue to do that, I think they can eat away at this game. Put some more pressure on Molly. I think they have the skills to do it. It's going to be interesting to see. 8-3 is a pretty big deficit to come back from, so you got to go out there with a lot of belief.
Be definitely interesting to see how this one progresses. Not fully out of the reach of Ozone. They've managed to make comebacks before, and they've faced off against big opponents before. Of course, have to mention last year, quarterfinals against Riot, Ozone surprised everybody coming out on top. So not impossible to think that maybe they could pull off another upset right now, but a huge mountain to climb with the likes of Molly Brown, who are right now, they look so comfortable up there, Adam.
Sitting back in the driver's seat, cruise control on, got their favorite music going on the stereo, very, very comfortable working their way down the field, very comfortable in defense.
Once again, our halftime score here in this women's quarterfinal.
So Molly Brown will be kicking us off, starting on defense, a spot in the semifinals on the line as they unleash one of their famous rolling pulls. We'll see a junk zone set up right off the pull as Palmer is trapped on the sideline there. See Chastain in the lane, Schaffner taking away the reset. Palmer trying to get there, and that is a signature defense here for Molly Brown. Chastain gets a hand to that one. Now centering to Applegate. Big swing around to Slattery, but there was a pick called a while before that throw went off. Slattery open, but it looks like Darch saying wouldn't have had a play on the disc, so just catching up slightly.
Slattery, very, very open. Often takes very strong cutter. At time used a little pick.
Darch did well to cut off the first one, but on the second one, Pelletier open in the end zone, Sam Pelletier, and that is another break. Molly Brown on the break train right now, 9-3.
That can be a backbreaker. You're coming out on offense, knowing that you have a real mountain to climb, to not even complete that first pass out of that kind of well-known Molly Brown clamp on the sideline zone. They're very good at putting it on and transitioning out of it. It looked like, frankly, unfortunately for Ozone, a slight confusion on the line on the sidelines, getting to the right place, slowed them down getting that disc into motion, which let Molly finish getting down. If you're over there, that disc has been stopped by the sidelines. One of the great features of having some fans out there, it can't keep rolling. You pick it up, you run it in, you get it moving. You might be able to get through before they can get set. This time, unfortunately, held up, finding the right spot.
And that is something that we may see again here, the same rolling pull from Molly Brown. Definitely something that they like to do, especially when there's a little bit of wind on their side.
Lizzie Laurie on the pull for Molly Brown.
Big shout out to anyone watching. As this time Ozone try to go 1 and 2 between, and that one picked off. Lizzie Laurie reads that one, and Ozone forced into making another mistake here, as now the disc here on the near sideline. Pesh puts that one into space, has Laurie going, reels it in, has Wynn in the end zone, and making it look easy. Molly Brown have run away with this game. 10-3 right now. They lead over Ozone.
Unfortunate for Ozone there, they got a high stall count. Molly able to kind of just drop that disc into space and let one of their receivers get it. And you saw that trap zone did exactly what they want to do out of it. Trapped into that sidelines, showed Seville, a player on that far sideline with some space, and kind of baited her into a throw to let the deep come across and get it. You see a lot, as a thrower, you're sitting back there, you see a lot of space. You're like, I can definitely knife this thing in there. And then you realize it's got to travel 40 yards to get there. And that defender has a little bit of an advantage. Also, that just slow down on the wind. It's just, they're just daring you with exactly what they want you to throw.
And now Ozone coming together in a timeout call here. See them trying to regroup, and Adam, I'm sure with lots of situations like this, you coached in the women's division for so many years. How do you begin to try to keep your team's heads up when you're facing off against an opponent who is really running away with it?
For me, quite often, you have to set up this situation throughout the weekend and throughout the year. We always tried with my teams to say, score 0-0, or focus on short games to 3. Don't focus on that big score. You can't affect the big score. In this 1 point, there's nothing you can do to turn 10-3 to 10-9. That would be a great point. There's no rule that allows that. You have to tell them it's 0-0, and we're going to go out and we're going to take this next point. And we have the wheels, we have the tools, we have the skills to go get that point. Then we're going to worry about the next one.
We've seen big comebacks before in Ultimate, not a sport opposed to them at all. But it is quite the hill. And Molly Brown.
If you go back in history, you talked about this being the 50th anniversary of Ultimate. One of the, certainly, if not the most famous, one of the most famous comebacks was the great Fury Riot comeback in the finals in Sarasota. I don't remember the exact score, 10-1, 12-1, something honestly ridiculous that resulted in a win for Fury that truly won for the record books. Any good display or museum on the history of Ultimate better have a few pages on that game.
So here's another rolling pull, but this one collected and into the middle of the field here for Ozone. Wooten hits the inside shot, finds Matsunaga. Now resetting it, has to dive to get there. Cena, Ginny puts it into the middle for Wooten, who's going to unleash that around flick, but it's going to fall short, giving the disc back to Molly Brown, who move it quickly through Miller. Now Miller going up line, pressure on the back, but Taggart hangs on. Taggart, the inside flick shot through traffic there to Johnston. Now Hardesty getting low to retain possession. Taggart again here, looking for the next option, instead resetting the disc. The next option not coming right away from the stack, instead puts up the inside flick, and it's gonna hang and be brought down by Ozone. Getting a hand to it first is Aaron Schroeder. Now Wooten, another chance to put up the big flick to the end zone. It's gonna hang, sitting in the air, but this time reeled down, and for the goal, getting to it first. Ozone does well. Maddie Frey with the point here.
Really excellent read. She, veteran player, strong all around the field. Wooten has been one of the strongest throwers for many years in the women's game. And in a game like this where you need to loosen up that upfield, even with that first shot being a turnover, I think right now you're looking for her to use that weapon. When you get a strong cutter like Frey, it's not a perfect throw. It really isn't. She has to slow down. She has to find the spot to make that grab with the defender right on her. She's able to do it. I think you're still happy with that shot and that chance at that point in this game.
And that's one back. Close the gap by 1 point here. They can continue to close it. Still looking for their first break of the game. So far, the offensive line for Molly Brown has been so efficient and able to continually cut to create space for the next cut as well.
Right, you've certainly seen Ozone try a few different things, try and shift up the mark, try and drop umbrella, try and drop a simple zone on them. The zone wasn't effective as they went through very, very quickly in the 2 or 3 times that they've played it. I think you need to see Ozone try to do something different with a zone look, with maybe a different zone look to try and turn those fortunes around and force Molly to swing this disc around a few times. See if you can just get a few extra passes out of it.
So Bacher hits Applegate, and now we're gonna see a zone look here from Ozone. Pesh inside to Applegate, who finds Bacher through the space in the cup. Applegate again finding movement, and now Pesh goes upfield. Pelletier with the disc. The inside flick shot, those flick breaks, and again over to Bacher. So dangerous, putting them on the break side of the field. Lisa Minor, the little flip spike in celebration, and just like that, they're back up by 7 points, 11-4.
And you did see Ozone come down in that zone look at that point. Molly Brown's handlers moved so well to step into that cup, shift their spacing, shift where those looks were, and what you found is the front people in that cup constantly off angle just a little bit so that the Molly throwers had clean throws to that next handler. It left those lanes open for them. Too easy at that point. Once they're upfield, off to the races.
And Lisa Minor has been unstoppable on her cuts today. Ozone unable to find an answer, whether it's cutting hard under or hard out, always such a commitment to whatever cut Minor is making, and that has caused some trouble here, giving Molly Brown this huge lead and control in this game right now, and they're looking very much like a team who deserves to be in the semifinal.
They certainly look that strong. I think if you look across the women's division, over the last 5 years, there has really been growth of teams throughout that top 20, 25 teams in the women's division. You can continue to see the depth grow, the skill grow, players grow across teams to a much greater depth than you saw years before it. At the same time, these top 4 or 5 teams are really continuing to build, continuing to recognize the difficulties they're going to face with every team out there. It's just fantastic to see that kind of development.
Matsunaga now And Ozone trying to move upfield as they center to the middle, and now the around backhand going up. Ni Win thought about leaving her feet for that one, but it's in to the end zone in the hands of Schroeder, and Ozone trading the last 2 points here, making it 11-5.
Really nice, clean offense from Ozone when they brought it to this near sideline, taking that 25, 30 yards up that field very quickly. The cutter available at the time the disc reached the thrower. Made it very easy for Ozone to get around some Molly defenders and have an easy shot into the end zone.
So still a ton of time left in this game. 45 minutes until the hard cap, about 25 minutes until soft cap would go up. There is so much time to go on a run. And if you're Ozone, you've got to keep some of that in mind. Like you said, Adam, maybe focusing on winning the small battles, those one-on-one matchups that they've had a hard time shutting down. And they could win a game to 3. They might be able to pull themselves back into it a bit.
We're going to have to see them put a little bit more pressure on those throws, try and get Molly a little bit unsettled, get this defense.
At the same time, it is hard to imagine Molly being unsettled at this current point. They've looked calm on offense. See some new O-line players coming out now. Cardenas staying on the field, Taggart playing O, but no Chastain out there, no Bacher, no Applegate as well. So some depth being shown from this Molly Brown team as Cardenas goes 1 and 2 through the cup and then threading the needle. Now Cardenas again fakes the shot to the end zone. Controlling this point, now Johnson with the disc. Johnson finds Gaskill upfield. The 18-year-old U20 USA player. Gonna swing the disc up around, backhand to the end zone, and somehow one hand, Slattery puts a toe in the line, but there was contact and an injury down for Ozone. It's gonna put a bit of a damper on this one, and hopefully she's okay. We're gonna get a replay of this amazing grab. Slattery waits for it into her hand, keeps 1 foot in bounds. But before that occurred, there was an injury, so we'll see if there was a call as well. Not sure what took place. Both the Molly Brown player, it's like Gaskill being held by Schaffner there.
I didn't see what the play was, if there was contact as that throw went up. It's great to see Stacy Gaskill, players like this, U20 player, U.S. national team this year.
Observer Linda Kudo over there. It's gonna make
signaling the injury sub.
Injured on the play. Step off the field. Paula Seville on for Ozone.
Not sure where. We have to see the observer place the disc back into play and where the disc is, because the disc had been thrown into the end zone for a goal to Dina Slattery.
So it looks like it is going to return into the hands of Stacy Gaskill here. The injury sub, Travaglini, leaving the field. Seville coming in for Ozone. Just setting what the stall count will be. Coming in on 8 here, and goes to make the initial backhand shot, and right away Seville coming in big, gets a hand to it, and Ozone a chance now. Stubbs putting it upfield. Veal looking for the reset, running out of options as Seville tries to go up line. Gaskill trying to get around in front of that one, can't get there. Now Ozone off to the races of their own here. Meg Harris on the far sideline shooting to Stubbs upfield, who has time to run onto that one. 2 yards away from their first break of the game. Ozone into the end zone, and they found it. Kate Woodhurst gets the goal, the assist from Stubbs, and that is the first break here for Ozone.
That's Denver 11, Atlanta 6.
Ozone doing a great job turning that. When that disc came in at stall 8, everyone close. Took 2 seconds of RD and then very quickly getting motion upfield, moving the disc downfield quickly to get themselves into this chance into the end zone. Clearly an important point for Ozone, as everyone is at this point when you're looking at an 11-6 deficit, but really nice to take what was 10 yards out and turn it into a point on the board for yourselves.
It's the first 2-run point that Ozone has been able to go on. Just seeing there the catch from Slattery again, and then the hand block as Gaskill just tried to go for that inside backhand shot, and Seville staying straight and strong on that one. Gets a hand in the way, and they're able to go back the full length of the pitch, and a break here for Ozone.
Their first one of the game. Not even that many chances at it for them in this game, because that Molly offense has been so solid, but it's got to give you some confidence to get that, not just get that turn, but then convert it, turn it into that break.
So the familiar O-line back on the field here for Molly Brown. Kylie Peck, Ives, Miner, Applegate, Chastain, Bacher, and Pakaithley. So much chemistry between that line as Bacher will collect. Chastain surveying for an option, puts the around backhand to Miner, again in yards of space. Has time for the next one, hits Chastain in the middle. Upfield, Pakaithley has to lay out under pressure, manages to keep that in her hands. Now Miner upfield. Has Chastain cutting up line, now looking for Applegate. And a pick called in the stack, Lisa Pakaithley. Unbelievable grab in the middle of the field.
Pakaithley, someone just as happy to lay out as to catch one in her gut, it seems. She relishes that opportunity, I'm quite certain.
Now that one, though, going big and high, but Bacher comes in to retain possession. Molly Brown doing everything in their power, but there was a pick called.
Great save. Heads up play by Bacher to keep possession.
Lauren Bacher, one of the captains of this Molly Brown team.
Little work to position the players before we get back into play.
Coming in on stall 6 now as it's tapped back in, and Bacher, the break backhand. Kalupek in the end zone, and 2 unbelievable layouts on that point for Molly Brown. Those have to be born to rise moments. Incredible stuff here. Molly Brown showing us why they are the team that they are and why they are ranked one of the best teams here. 12-6 in this quarterfinal game. Get another look here. Lisa Pakaithley recognizing the layout D coming, bids to keep possession, and then this one popping up high. Lauren Bacher recognizes it, gets one hand under that, and then restarting play, break backhand, Kalupek in the end zone. Molly Brown looking so fierce out there right now.
Bacher, a player who has such strong throws and very quick movement from standing and surveying the field to good, low, balanced stance, releasing that break mark. She is so dangerous because she is able to get into that position to get that throw off, drop into the other throws. A player that you cannot sleep on. When she is around that disc, the defense has to be aware and active every second, and it is very hard to get yourself coming out of that stoppage. The player on the mark has to set herself so quickly and be ready for that disc to go anywhere. Bacher just too quick into the position to set off that easy break mark score.
So another strong defensive unit out on this line with the likes of Dixon and Schaffner leading the charge.
Yeah, interesting, we talked to Coach Durst before the game. Unlike so many teams, Molly Brown really rotates that line. It's not so much an O and a D line, but it's groups that play together, and they could go out there on O or D or at any time, and so they're all ready for it. They're all ready to play into different situations.
So in play with Wooten, who finds Stubbs on this near sideline for Ozone, going into the middle. Matsunaga under pressure, reels it in. Next option, pressure from Schaffner on that one, but again, Schroeder this time. Now Stubbs again in the middle, a real general of the offense here for Ozone, but there was a pick called before the throw.
Ozone definitely pinging that disc around the field a little bit more quickly, helping their cutters get that space open. Really nice to see all the space that it creates for them. Let's see if they can turn that into their 7th goal.
It's going to stay with Matsunaga, who dishes it inside. More pressure from Slattery. Next option, running low. Stubbs trying to go up line, finds a narrow amount of space there. Seville. Again, those upfield options tightly marked here from Molly Brown. Puts it into space. Matsunaga runs onto it. Dixon, not sure she was aware the disc was right behind her. Now again, Seville up line, working it into the end zone. Ozone, Meg Harris with the goal. Maddie Fry with the goal. And
another one for Fry, who we've seen really moving well for Ozone upfield. She's become their scoring threat upfield.
And you see Ozone here a lot more comfortable in some of those tight defensive spaces. Molly Brown has all game been putting on extremely tight coverage defensively, and it looked more like at the start of the game, Ozone was a bit more nervous to throw some of those shots based on that coverage. Now recognizing that the one step, they're still getting open and they're still getting to that disc first, so a little bit more confidence being shown in the second half of this game.
I think what you're seeing is that Ozone offense creating a lot more space. In the first half, it looked like they were almost in a very kind of straightforward hoe stack where the 4 players were in almost always looked like they were in lanes, so those areas were tighter to make that throw, so that one step looks smaller when you only have a few yards on either side of the receiver. Right now, they're looking at players that have 20 yards on either side of them because of the space they created in that point. So much easier as a thrower to feel confident. I can just lead this player with a throw and let my good cutter use her legs and go get it.
12-7. The second half of this game, if we're counting points, tied at 4-4 in the second half. So Ozone coming out with something a little bit different and able to show us that they can go toe-to-toe with this team, but a big hole from that first half, and see if it's too late for them to climb out of it. Another break here would certainly put a bit more pressure on Molly Brown. Applegate will bring this one in.
There's a side stack and an ISO here. Quick movement as that disc comes in.
Picathley looking for the next option, doesn't find it, so resets to Applegate. Picathley getting open in the reset position. Now looking for Knee Win, and it's too far in front of her. No one behind as Win checked for the next option. Emmerich fakes upfield.
Picathley poach.
Inside shot, recognizes the poach and finds Cedor. A touch on the throw, but it gets there anyways. Darch upfield. Travaglini. Big fakes, and then on the second one, going Sophie Darch in the end zone. The second break of this second half for Atlanta Ozone, and they shorten the gap, the hill a little bit less big. It's now 12-8 here against Molly Brown.
Sophie Darch, a player that we have not talked about a lot in this game, but really a strong handler, strong mover, just a tremendous addition to this Ozone team when she moved to Atlanta. And you could see it there. Confidence on that first backhand for her, and then sets up quickly and instantly into that cut up the line. The type of movement and really confident throwing that Ozone is going to need to continue this run. Gives them, as you said, it gives them their second break, clean in the red zone in this half. really important to keep that going. We're looking at only a 4-point game. As Molly Brown, you start to look at what felt like a bigger lead. It's really not significantly different at 4 to 5 points, but it feels a little tighter now as that game starts to close down.
So Molly Brown still up, but like you said, the gap a little bit tighter, a little bit more pressure on this O-line now. And we did see them have trouble close it out against DC Scandal yesterday. They were up 14-11 and allowed 2 breaks to make it 14-13. Able to close it out right at the end, but if some mistakes happen and Ozone continues to take advantage here, anything is possible as that signature flick pull from Wooten comes up, now collected by Chastain.
It's going to be important for Ozone to get some pressure on them quickly here.
Applegate looking for the next option. Can't find Cardenas in the space, and a stall count climbing. Minor recognizes and now resetting to Chastain. Chastain has Applegate, who has to get high to reel that in. Now the flick going up, looking for Gaskill in the space. 2 defenders, Gaskill gets up. And that one is going to be a turnover here. Ozone, a chance for a second break in a row. And an injury called upfield. Cena, Ginny will take a sub.
It'll be interesting to see if the coaches for Molly make a swap as well. They usually do not.
Looks like Molly Brown will stay with the 7 they've got.
Molly Brown opting to stay with the 7 they've got on the field as Paula Seville comes on for Ozone. Ozone looking to close the gap further. They're no stranger to comebacks. Wooten immediately around to Palmer. Palmer, the inside shot, trying to be a little bit creative, and it doesn't work out this time as it goes into the ground, and now Cardenas has to get low to retain possession. Faking to get around to the backhand side there for Minor. Chastain barely open in the space, and now upfield. Kalupek dishes to Chastain. Now low and into the end zone, the layout, but Cardenas comes down with it. The kick spike in celebration. Denver, Molly Brown, 13-8, and that was a big momentum shifting point.
Was when Palmer's looking at the speedy Carver, thinking I need to get that disc to there. Carver a little bit behind the mark, making that a tough shot. It finds the dirt.
And the difference it would have made if Ozone had been able to work that one up the field, but now Molly Brown 2 points away from their berth to a semifinal spot, and their O-line able to figure it out on that point after a turnover. We'll see what their defense can do on this one.
And we talked in the first half about how a few of those long throws got away, and it still seems like the long throws are difficult. The easy unders work for him. You see Cardenas take another goal, just open steps, 2 steps open into that corner. After what was for Cardenas a routine, no chance of that making her highlight reel with the layout save on the swing to start that point, and then finishing in the end zone.
And at one point in this game, it was 10-3, so Ozone a 5-3 run, showing some pressure on this Molly Brown team. But Molly Brown, once again, finding a way to overcome that late push here from Ozone as Alika Johnson pulls the big around backhand. Roll stopped there by Fry.
And then a little freestyle.
Darch has Seville looking for the reset option in Darch up line. Devlin on the mark as Darch runs out of options, has to put it deep, has receivers going in the space, but the defense this time coming down with it, and there's a foul called. Seville had Taggart, Hardesty, and Slattery in the space there.
Darts has that strong backhand to cut that through this wind. It's something that you've almost wondered why they aren't taking advantage of a little bit earlier. When she first got that disc, that look really wasn't there, which she uses as a bail. I'd like to see them trying to set that up. Give her those looks for those 40-yard backhands and use that weapon, try and make a difference. Here, it's going to be a jump ball the whole way.
So, conversation here.
Hospital pass, but the foul
Looks
upheld.
It was a foul. Paula Seville had positioning. 3 defenders in the space, and now Seville into the end zone for Fry.
Who else?
And exactly who else but Maddie Fry bringing in the goal here, and they keep it at 13-9. Ozone having a strong second half, but may not be enough to come back here. See, Maddie Fry, such a strong player, so much experience in this division as well.
Yeah, former Riot. The list of teams that she's played on is pretty long and impressive. Also interesting to know that she was a teammate of Cardenas with Revolution this year in a World Championship where she was a huge factor on a team as not just an out-of-towner, but out of the country working with that team. And the number of times you heard her name on a team full of stars, impressive amount of play from her.
We're gonna get a look here at the foul there. Just as Seville went to make her jump there, there was some contact in the back that just kind of stopped her jump halfway through. And then Seville sees Fry, and like you said, Fry playing on the Colombian team Revolution and matching up against Cardenas on the field a couple times here. Those two going one-on-one, clearly know each other very well and their styles of play.
Yeah, I think huge credit to Seville getting in there. The second Darts released that backhand, Seville was 20 yards backfield of that thing, took off the second it went up, got in there, took advantage of her height with great positioning, took the foul.
So now Travaglini pulls that one down here as it is centered to Chastain. Picathley initiating cutter and then puts it into space. Win wide open near the end zone for Molly Brown. Has Minor on the reset. Minor to Chastain in the middle, Picathley on the far side. And then Win wide open once again, this time on the far side of the end zone. Molly Brown, game point in this quarterfinal.
Ozone might want to put someone within Win's area code on that point. She found herself in an awful lot of space the whole time. I also like kind of a hallmark the way Molly plays that. They've got these big throwers. That disc goes up. They take the yards and instantly have a nice set. Take the reset right away. Once you get into that red zone, settle it in and be safe with it instead of doing something quick. You're going to see her come right around the outside and be open for the goal.
Nii Win plays for Colorado Cali and a U24 women's player as well, showing some cutting prowess in this game. And Molly Brown now on the doorstep. Game point, 14-9. Ozone, a great second half, but left it too late. And we did talk to their coach before the game, and they talked about struggling in their first halves and how they needed to have a good first half of this game. And unfortunately, today, Molly Brown was more ready for the start of this one.
Yeah, even in their last game against a team like Traffic, who's also a very strong team, Ozone has enough to come back. Molly showing why they are seen as a true contender at this national championships.
Jesse Schaffner set to pull the big around backhand. Gonna land near the far sideline, and so much time for Molly Brown to get down on defense as the first throw is shut down. Stubbs puts it to Fry up line. Fry looking for Stubbs, and there's a hand block from Dixon.
Looks like a foul call.
Dixon had already move to transition to offense, so there will be a discussion here. You can see there, immediately Fry making the call, but hard to see how much contact was on the arm. There was definitely a touch on the disc as well. So going to the observer here, Linda Kudo. So they're gonna rule it as a contested foul. Disc coming back in on stall 4. So Fry putting it into space in front of Stubbs. A great shot from Maddie Fry. Now Stubbs looking for the next option, goes to Wooten up line, but that one is picked off and a foul called.
Looks like there's gonna be a call.
Chelsea Tuhig getting a hand to that one on defense. And
you see Tuhig going through her thoughts on this one, trying to decide how she wants to respond to that foul call from Wooten.
It did look like Tuhig fully had a hand on that one first before the call. See what the discussion ends up being here, but Tuhig had the inside lane, the position as well. So
USA Ultimate rules certainly allow for a little contact after that play. You certainly can't make a play in which you would crush or destroy another player as part of a foul call, but the expectation is not that there's going to be a complete avoidance of any contact after you make that play. If that disc is caught cleanly before, then this will be ruled as a clean D.
We'll see what the resolution is. Looks like they are going to opt to go for the contested foul and send the disc back. So Stubbs still in possession, and Stubbs has been a dominant handler for Ozone, going every other pass on some of these points as well. Combining well with the likes of Wooten and Darch. Fry as well as now Wooten gets it. Looking for the next option, Stubbs cutting up line. There was a pick back in the stack upfield.
Seen this point has slowed down a little bit with a few more calls than we've seen. I think it's been a very cleanly played game. Very quick play, not a lot of calls.
And this one, Alex Hardesty, just the right timing on the shoulder check, gets a touch to the reset throw, gives Molly Brown the chance to get this break, as now Schaffner looking to reset to Taggart. Taggart swings that around, lots of time for Dixon to chase it down. Dixon pops it up to Taggart. There was a pick called. Lots of pick calls in this game. Like you said, Adam, mostly all the intensity coming at the end here, but pick calls throughout the course, both teams having some congested movement in the stack. But Taggart will get to tap it back in on stall 3.
Tries to find the right world symbol there. Interesting to see the players use the symbols, especially the players who played at Worlds, used to working against players who only speak other languages using signals. Love the call there with her creating her own symbol for let's just take a break here.
And Taggart, a great call here right in the middle of the field as well, recognizing they have an opportunity to break to win this one as well. And see Molly Brown dancing in their huddle, Ozone focus, but the little clap and snap from Molly Brown, they look so relaxed and poised to go and take this one. See what kind of play they call out of the timeout.
Good to see a little bit of fight through the second half. A lot closer game, better play. Hopefully can a little bit more interesting to see some defensive tightness, some well played offensive points from Ozone to make this Molly team work in the second half on what was really smooth sailing in the first half for the unsinkable.
Taggart looking for Schaffner. Schaffner does well with the little shoulder fake to get that on the open side, and now the inside flick to Taggart, and yet another pick called in the stack. Now moving quickly to Hig. Near sideline, 15 yards from the end zone. Looking to Schaffner. Schaffner, the head fake, and then gets open in the end zone, misses it, but reeled in on the second attempt, Alicia Dixon, and that's what teammates do best. Heads up play from Dixon will end this one. Molly Brown, 15-9.
Let's recognize greatness and say that she meant to throw that disc to Dixon.
See the replay here. Schaffner, outstretched arms, can't get there. And Dixon coming off the back of the stack, and that's why you always tell your teammates to stay on your toes in the end zone stack there. And Molly Brown headed back to the semifinals. They take this one 15-9 over Atlanta Ozone. And Adam, a great second half from Ozone, unfortunately not enough to make a comeback.
No, as you said earlier, we're seeing the reason why we're looking at a team that everyone firmly believes is a true contender to win this championship. Molly Brown in that first half put on an offensive clinic. Create space, easy throws, quick movement. That kind of offense is very, very difficult to stop, and we're going to have to see some of the top teams work out some systems to stay with them if they want to beat this Molly team on the way to the finals.
So, a great quarterfinal game here. 15-9, Denver, Molly Brown over Atlanta Ozone. They will head to the semifinals and see some of the great plays here. Hand block there from Molly Brown to Keithley. Gonna get another little touch on it there. Looks like Molly Brown almost one step ahead on so many of these plays as Stubbs puts that one into space. Dixon running through to get there. This one upfield, gonna be put back. Cardenas, and then the inside backhand to Johnson, always just ahead of their cutters. And what a great game, a pleasure to be here with you today. Quarterfinal winners, Denver, Molly Brown over Atlanta Ozone. We will be back with more action later.